He was sentenced to life in prison for fighting a system that
nearly every part of his people's lives.
On June 12, 1964,
Nelson Mandela was sentenced to life imprisonment, a moment that would become one of the defining chapters in South Africa's struggle against apartheid. For decades, apartheid had institutionalized racial segregation and oppression, legally enforcing white minority rule over the black majority. Mandela was a lawyer and a leader of the African National Congress, the ANC. During the Rivonia trial, he and his fellow defendants were accused of acts including sabotage against the apartheid government. The sentence was meant to silence him. Instead, it helped turn him into a symbol. Mandela was taken to Robben Island, where he would spend the next 18 years of his imprisonment before later being transferred elsewhere behind prison walls. He faced hard labor, isolation, and years of separation from his family. But something the apartheid government could not imprison was his influence. The man they had locked away was becoming a symbol of hope for millions of people outside the prison walls for millions. As resistance continued, international pressure grew. Activists demanded change, while sanctions, cultural boycotts, and political pressure increasingly isolated the apartheid regime. But Mandela remained behind bars. 1 year became 5, 5 became 10, 10 became 20, and then, after 27 years in captivity, the prison doors finally opened.
On February 11, 1990, Nelson Mandela walked free.
He had entered prison as a political prisoner. He emerged as a symbol of the struggle against apartheid. But freedom was not the end of the story. Mandela and other leaders entered negotiations to dismantle apartheid and establish democracy.
In 1994, South Africans participated
in their first democratic national election based on universal adult suffrage, and Nelson Mandela became the country's first democratically elected president. After 27 years behind bars, he now stood at the highest office in the nation. His journey was not simply the story of a prisoner becoming president. It was the story of a man who endured decades of imprisonment without allowing his vision for freedom to disappear. The government tried to make his name a symbol of rebellion. History turned it into a symbol of hope. Nelson Mandela's story reminds us that oppression can imprison a person, but it cannot always imprison an idea. And sometimes, the person a system tries hardest to silence becomes the voice the world remembers. What would you have done if you knew you might spend the rest of your life in prison for standing up for what you believed was right? Tell us your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more powerful stories of African leaders, forgotten heroes, resistance, and moments that changed history, subscribe to the History Vault. History isn't just about what happened, it's about understanding why it still matters.